Welcome to Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. I'm Julie Noonan, your host, CEO, and founder of Intuitive Wisdom Coaching, and I'm living my dream life. I live and work in my RV, coaching senior women leaders as they navigate corporate politics, family drama, and personal goals to live their own dream lives. These women are restless. They are never done seeking new opportunities, learning, and ways to create value in the world. If you'd like to apply to be a guest, stick around to the end of the show and I'll let you know how. So let's go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. This morning, I have the privilege of introducing Adriana Cowdin. Adriana is a four-time entrepreneur, corporate CEO, and one of the most sought-after executive coaches and keynote speakers in the business world. She is the founder of Decaf Digital. She led the company to over 400% growth, resulting in its acquisition in 2023, placing her in the top 1% of women-owned small business. Woohoo! Love that.
It was a good
With over 20 years of experience, she has successfully coached more than 5,000 executives, leveraging her background as a former chief marketing officer, chief customer officer, and CEO. Cowdin's expertise in personal branding has been featured in Forbes, Inc. 500, New York Times, Reuters, and many other top-tier outlets. Known for her direct and results-oriented coaching style, she's dedicated to empowering executives to navigate the change with clarity and confidence. She holds a bachelor's degree in business management, completed leadership and coaching courses through Harvard Business School, and she's been recognized with awards such as the Trailblazer Award and the Multicultural Leadership Award. So welcome, Adriana.
Thank you so much, Julie. That was quite the introduction. I'm hoping I can live up to all that.
Oh, I'm quite sure you will be just fine, I promise. So I love your background. Be bold. That is amazing. And so tell me a little bit about was there a trigger that prompted you to go into executive coaching to begin with?
There was. So I was in recruiting early on in my career back in the mid 90s, and I was in telecom. And in 98, I started speaking at Rotary clubs and right management outsourcing companies as companies were starting to do more outsourcing on, interviews, resumes, kind of all the career transition things.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2000, the telecom bubble burst, as we say. So way before the '08 recession, we had a big burst in telecom in 2000. And I started just getting a lot of influx of friends of mine and then executives and friends of theirs, like, can you help me with my resume? Can you help me with interviewing? Can you help me land the job? Can you help me negotiate? And I was like, okay, well, I love doing this. And yes, I would be happy to help. And so I, for lack of a better word, just kind of stumbled into it naturally and was very blessed to find something I love. And thankfully, I'm pretty good at.
Absolutely. I think sometimes, well, actually, I would say more often than not, people wind up stumbling into things that they like, as
Yes.
opposed to, already having an idea and going into it.
Yeah.
So, tell me about one of the values that you hold dear that has basically woven itself like a red thread, as Marcus Buckingham says, through your career.
Relationships are the primary reason I do everything, and they are the most important reason. So whether that's my relationship with my husband or my relationship with my client or relationship with my manager, leader at a company, I really put relationships above everything else.
Mm-hmm. And what about that is satisfying to you?
I feel like when you invest in people, they invest in you. So if let's say it's investing in employees that work for me, right? They'll then invest their time in my business and therefore my customers and eventually profit. If it's on the personal side and I'm investing, let's say I'm taking 2 days off work because my husband has a couple days off and we just want to spend time together, then of course that's investing in my marriage, which comes back exponentially, right? And I always say this too, because a lot of times you probably know this as an executive coach, networking is a really big thing for executives. So anytime
Absolutely.
I get a request for someone to take 15 or 30 minutes of my time, I will find any way I can to do that, because I really feel like the world revolves around people, not computers and processes. So the more you invest in others, the more it comes back to you.
Amen, sister. I'm all about the investment in people as opposed to things. That's for
Yeah.
sure. That holds very, very true with my philosophy as well, is that it's all about the people. It always
Yeah.
has been, without the people, nothing matters.
Yeah, it's sad when you see organizations or leaders put profits above people. And I'm like, if you were just to invest in your team members, trust me, the profits will take care of themselves. Like they just will. And blessedly, that has happened in my life.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's a good success story. Like when you really invest in those who are committed to your organization or your division or whatever it is, they invest back in you, and it just multiplies the potential for success.
You're exactly right. That's absolutely true. And so, have you been through a big transition or a big uh you know not so fun event
Oh, yes.
maybe that you could share some wisdom from?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief. I've been through two of them I think of. The
Okay.
first one is what I call a very common scenario, which is companies go through this cycle process. I was an executive at Sears and Kmart back in the heyday when we were like a $40 billion business.
Hmm.
Um, and after Q4, a lot of retailers reevaluate, and somewhere around February, March, April, they go through a big layoff. And again, I'm a people person. So when I got the call every year there, you've got to cut X amount. I went back and said, no, no, don't tell me how many heads. Tell me how much money you need. Like, how much money do you need back that I need to claw back? And they would give me the number. I don't care if I cut pencils, if I cut coffee, I would cut anything before a person. And so my team never had a layoff. So that's one of the things that I think a lot of senior executives face, that it's time to claw back funds, right? And instinctively people think cut headcount. And I'm like, you can cut so many other things. And yes, sometimes it has to happen, but put your people first. Find anything else to cut before your people. So that's
Absolutely.
one. The second is a little more personal. I had taken a chief digital marketing officer role for a company about 10 or so years ago. 6 months in, I had a very severe health attack. I had some surgery, came back 4 days later. 5 days after that, it happened again. And the long story short is I ended up with pancreatic disease, very severe pancreatic disease.
Oh.
And so the reason I share that is because I think about a year and a half after I was there, we had to come to a parting. Like it was just not working anymore. And that was very hard. I had wrapped up a lot of my self-worth and kind of image of myself in my career. And I
Mhm.
had to completely redefine that. My body refused to do what I knew my brain could do. And so I started Decaf Digital, and I slowly started to build it. And I took on clients that knew the kind of work I would provide, but were flexible, knowing that I was going in and out of the hospital a lot. And
Wow.
so I was very blessed in that way. Fast forward 9 or so years, I've had 34 surgeries in that time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, three very major ones opening me all the way up, and have spent just copious amounts of time in the hospital, and investing in people has paid off. My team has taken care of the clients when I couldn't. They have stepped in my stead. My clients have been all very understanding. I've adjusted my schedule. I only take meetings at certain days and certain times because my body just can't function as long as my brain can.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's the lesson of, for me, it was defining more value in yourself than just what you've proven career wise. I chose not to have children. Now blessed I have a stepdaughter who's 21. So I did get them in the end, but I really chose to invest in my career instead of in childhood rearing. And so when you have to make a huge career transition and that's what you've put all your energy into, it was very, very confronting for me and quite frankly, extremely difficult.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it
Oh
was,
my goodness. Wow. And wow. Okay. I didn't know about that part.
overwhelmed for the audience. I'm
This
so
is
used to it that like I just kind
wonderful.
of like, yeah.
Yeah, but being willing to share that, I mean, that in and of itself shows a lot of vulnerability because the bottom line is you know, if you have a perceived weakness in this day and age, people tend to jump on it.
Yes,
And that is not how women typically react,
no,
and for my audience, women will come and support no matter what,
yeah. And
and
those are
that's
the
what I
people
want to
you need
keep
to seek
building.
out. Yeah, those are the people you need to seek out. And I always say, like, everyone has something. For
Oh,
me, it happens to be my health. For other people, it's family relationships. For other people, it's finances. For some people, it's marital relationships. Everyone's got something, right? This is
yeah,
just what I was blessed with. Like, this is just the journey I was given to walk. And if I'm not willing to share it, then no one can learn from what I've gone through. And then what is the point of having gone through all of that? Like, why not share that and say, here, if you do have pancreatic disease, call me. This is how you navigate that process, or here's what to
yeah,
expect. Or if you're facing chronic disease and you're trying to stay in an executive role, let's work through that. And sure, I work with a lot of people that don't have any of that, are just perfectly healthy. But to
yeah,
that point, everyone has something. Everyone has something they're
absolutely,
facing.
absolutely, even executives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
particularly executive, as I always say, because I focus on executives and career transition. And the
mhm,
question isn't often like, I want to find this job. It's that I could be a consultant, I could be fractional, I could be a
right,
speaker, I could be a coach, I could be this, I could, and I'm like, all that indecisiveness is actually just debilitating. And our friends and family, like, bless them, they're like, you can do anything you put your mind to. That's
right,
not
and
very
that's
helpful
not.
sometimes.
Yeah, that's not exactly, yeah, having been through the whole reason why I started my company up again was because I got laid off at 57 years old.
Yeah,
And, I wasn't getting the calls from the recruiters anymore because people figured that, hey, she's only got a few years left.
right.
No, believe
Yeah,
me, I am, regardless of taking Social Security or whatever, it doesn't matter. What
yeah, no.
matters to me is that I'm contributing value, creating value in this world. That's what
Yeah.
matters to me.
I
So,
was I was amazed, kind of the flip side of that. I'm almost 50, and when I started getting sick, I had a lot of people like, "Why are you working? Like, you clearly qualify. You need to be on disability." And I
um,
was like, "Sure. Do I qualify? Yes. Is that the route for some people? Absolutely. But for me, the mental capacity I have and what I want to do, it would
mhm,
harm me more to go onto disability and not work because
yes,
I get so much from my work. It's not a money thing. It's a mental and kind of, I always call it mental jujitsu, like
yeah,
keeping my mind active, having that reason to get up in the morning. Not that it's my only one, but another reason to get up and kind of go through the day and push myself. Those things all motivate me. That's different for everyone, but that motivates me. And to your point, most of my clients, not most, all of them, are older, all
uh,
senior executives. And at that point where ageism is very much a factor, and they're
yes,
dealing with sometimes and oftentimes hiring managers that are quite a bit younger than us and
yes,
tend to think that loyalty is not highly rewarded or should not be. And it's how to create a story about yourself that speaks to who you're talking to.
absolutely. And you have a lot of credibility in the personal branding space as
Yeah,
well. Can you talk
yeah.
to me a little bit about how you came to understand that that was a particular gift of yours?
Yeah, that was another one I kind of stumbled into. I started back, I think I was doing that personal branding column. I mean, well over 15, might have been 20 years ago I started with the New York Times. And I'm just, it was kind of something I naturally was saying to my clients, like, we have to create a pitch statement for you. And this was way before it was called personal branding, right?
Right.
Like no one was using that term. So now everyone's like, what's your personal brand? That
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
exist. And I very much think kind of in buckets and or boxes and processes. And so I was like, you need 15 words you can say in less than 15 seconds that answers the question, what do you do? And the reason I came up with that is because my clients were out of work. So they couldn't say,
Mm,
I'm a vice president of marketing or I'm a CFO. It didn't connect, right? Because the next question would be, well, where do you do that? Or tell me, right? So I had to kind of create something for them. That's how I ended up in personal branding. And then luckily I connected with a man named Dan Schwabel, who wrote a book on personal branding and had created a whole blog on it back in the early 2000s. Started writing for his blog, which ended up to the New York Times and so on and so forth. And I've still remained steadfast that whether you're looking for a job or not looking for a job, you need to
mhm.
know what your personal brand is. You need to know what you do, how you do it, and the unique value that you offer, and be able to convey it like that.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us stumble around with that because we
Yeah.
want to say way more than anybody really wants to hear.
Well, you want to create a conversation, right? You don't want to give
Mhm.
everything out because then no one has to say, tell me more, which your only goal should be for someone to respond, tell me more, or how do you do that? Or, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. What is
Yeah,
about that like, is to create a conversation. It's not to like put so much out there that someone's overwhelmed.
right. It's not a sale in the first 5 seconds. You
Yes,
know?
exactly. Yes. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
It's all about those relationships. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So, we have 3 questions that we ask everyone at the end of every episode.
Okay.
And the first one is, I'll have you close your eyes and describe the picture that appears when I say wise woman, and then open your eyes and tell me about her.
She's wearing something very fashionable and colorful. She is tall, not necessarily in stature, but in confidence,
Yes,
and very articulate and charismatic, but very approachable and personable. And she is someone that you might not see on the outside and go, that's a really powerful, successful woman. But the minute you start talking to her, you are blown away by what she shares.
that's amazing. I love that. I love it. Okay, so where do you like to roam?
Where do I like to roam? Everywhere. Very quick story. I was in a wheelchair for 9 months as in the recovery of one of my surgeries. And I immediately said, like, the minute I can walk again, I will walk everywhere. So I walk no less than 15 minutes a day on days I'm really not feeling well, but
Yeah,
upwards of 2 or 3 hours. And anywhere. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Julie. Like, you can drop me in the middle of a city, I'll explore everywhere. You can drop me on a farm, I'll walk over to the barn and go visit the animals. Like, if I can be walking and exploring, I will be roaming on my feet wherever I can go. Beach, mountains, you name it.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful because wise women are curious and we'd like to roam.
Yes.
Absolutely. In a lot of different ways, actually. Okay,
Yeah.
so last question. What makes you restless in a good way?
Boredom. Oh my gosh. I get so like television. I can't sit there. My husband will tell you this. I can't sit there and watch a movie from start to finish.
Uh-huh.
I'm like Googling stuff about the characters in the movie,
Yeah,
Googling information about them. And my husband's like, do you want to put this on pause? I'm like, no, I'm paying attention. But I can't just sit still. I've never been able to since I was a little kid. And I feel like it's my brain thinking I'm bored
mhm.
because so, for example, in a movie theater, if we were to go to a movie where you can't have your phone out, 9 times out of 10, 40 minutes in, I am asleep like a
Yeah.
baby, just gone. Because my brain is like, well, we're not doing a lot. Let's just take a nap. So I anything where it's like boredom. And that is the hardest thing of recovering from an illness. It's like when you're stuck in bed or stuck in a
Oh,
hospital.
yes.
I actually turned the ER room one day into a presentation. Like, I had my laptop up. I was speaking to the FDA. I was like, the doctor's like, what is she doing? And my husband's like, just let her do it. This is her. Like, don't interrupt her. But just like that, and I can sit still. Like, I can meditate. I can do yoga. I can sit still with myself. But for me, like calming my mind, my body is moving. That's when I'm walking. So
Yes.
something has to always be moving, or I might as well be sleeping.
I have a friend, I will give you her name after the podcast. She does what she calls walking meditation.
Oh,
And so what she does is she goes out and she will, before she goes, she'll say, okay, I want to notice everything that is yellow. And it keeps her focused on what she's seeing as opposed to,
like,
the storm that
yes.
may be going in her brain, right?
Yeah.
And so it she isn't one that likes to sit and meditate
Yeah.
because
Hard.
it is hard. I've got
Yeah.
too much to do, or my brain is going crazy, or whatever. So that's what she does.
I love that. I would love to be connected with her. Thank you.
No,
I
I
tend to
will
find like
definitely
a
do that.
destination, and in my world, I named the company Decaf because I'm addicted to coffee. Like, coffee
Yeah,
runs my life, and it's mostly decaf, which people are like, well, thank God you don't drink caffeine.
yeah,
But I typically like find some new coffee shop and then make that my destination. Like, at the end, I get my cup of decaf and then I kind of roam back. But I love the idea of like, I'm going to find everything yellow today, or I'm going to find everything that's, all the different cloud formations or whatever that is.
right.
I think that's fabulous. Yeah, I would love to
That's
connect with her. Thank you.
Oh, I will definitely give you her information for sure.
Thank
Okay, and so at the end of the episode, I like to ask, what can we do to help support you in your business?
Yeah, if you're an executive going through change and you're kind of confused or you're not confident, you need clarity and confidence. That's my sweet spot. Personal branding, a lot of it is career transition. So if you're going through a career transition and you're an executive and you need help navigating that process, feel free to reach out.
That sounds great. And everybody, we have the show notes down below, and we will have ways for you to be able to get in touch with Adriana. And feel free to do that. Obviously, we want to support each other in our businesses, so definitely take a look at her information and get to know her. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Adriana. We really appreciate your being on this podcast
Well,
with
it was
us
my
today.
pleasure. Thank you for having me, Julie.
Thank you. Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they mean a lot to me, my team, and most importantly, my restless guests. As a special gift to you, our listeners, I offer a free one-on-one 15-minute breakthrough session. Bring a problem and experience how coaching works to see if it could be of value to you. Sign up for an available time on my website, intuitivewisdomcoach.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.